So the telcos have been on a journey to transform themselves into a TechCo or a software-driven service provider. So this has been a journey that has been going on for quite some time. And what it looks like is them adopting the latest developments in the cloud technologies in their network as they desegregate their networks. And it has, in my mind, it has three dimensions. One is the technology, so adopting the technology. The second dimension is the people, kind of making sure they have the right talent, the existing talent is trained up, and they are organized to leverage the cloud economics. And the third piece, and the most important one, is the processes. So the processes that the telcos have with their full stack and siloed approach do not work anymore. So they have to look at it in a three-dimensional manner, that as they adopt new technologies, they have to make sure the people are trained up and they have the right people with the right skills, but at the same time update their processes to be able to succeed.
So as TechCos continue to take shape, right, we see that the future of networks is very clear that they are taking two things essentially. One is being a cloud smart and also being multi-vendor. So what does multi-vendor even mean, right? So we are bringing in different capabilities and they are able to bring in different business models and revenue generation models that they can actually drive telecommunication industry and bring in the industry revolution as well as advancement in the networks.
It's a significant change for a telco to change from telco to TechCo. It's about tools, it's about technology, but it's also about mindset. It's about changing how their customers view them and how they deliver services to those customers. And I guess to ask why the CSPs would change from telco to TechCo, you can look at it negatively and say with flat revenues and 5G not delivering huge changes in customer behavior that they need to change. But I think there's a positive way to look at it, to say CSPs are trusted by their customers for decades to deliver business critical technology. So why not extend that beyond connectivity to further business technologies?
The transformation from telco to TechCo, right, is important because CSPs need to be able to participate in my life. Meaning, say for instance, all of us flew here. I open up my phone and the phone says, hey, you're in Barcelona. Would you like a $30 international plan? Yes, I do, right? And the more telcos can participate in my movements every day from an end user perspective, they can then possibly generate more income to help, offer me services that's going to make my life easier. And so technology is going to drive that. And so because of those things and because of that technology and awareness that the telcos may have, or maybe I might allow them to have to where I am, they can then use technology and automation to drive the services that's going to, make my digital experience within the network, wherever I am, that much more better. So this is, I think, a primary opportunity for telcos to make a driver for telcos to make this transition, and it's going to make a difference in their bottom line.
The biggest challenge for operators as they're trying to transform themselves is really understanding all of the workloads that they have out there on their legacy platforms and figuring out which workloads they can place either in their private cloud, in the public cloud, or at some point sunset, and figuring that out, and then going ahead and starting to virtualize a lot of the platforms underneath those applications and workloads. Secondly is automating, right? Once you get there and figure out the workloads and where you want to place them, then you've got to figure out how to automate and orchestrate throughout that entire infrastructure to ultimately become much more efficient.
So the biggest challenge is the way the network is set up. There is a lot of technical debt in telco's network. So being able to overcome the technical debt while modernizing their networks is the biggest challenge. And that is where VMware kind of comes and helps them, because we've done this before successfully with several of our customers, both in the greenfield environment and also in the brownfield environment. So we bring that experience from around the world and getting the best practices and helping our telcos shorten the time frame of making the transition.
So they're both internal KPIs, for example, measuring internal efficiency. So I guess interfaces, types of middleware, internal processes in order to make sure that the telco is transitioning to an efficient TechCo platform, because there's no reason to transition to something that's very complicated to work with, right? And of course there are external KPIs So how many new services are being built? How many new customers are being introduced? And how is this TechCo platform solving enterprise client requirements and problems, right? So both internal and external KPIs. But that's not very well defined at the moment.
So telecom companies for many years have become what some call dumb pipes. And they would like to monetize the network. They are sitting on an asset, lower latency and quality of service, all the network slicing possibilities are there to create new business opportunities. So telcos have the means to offer new type of services and quality services for certain enterprises. And the combination of telco, cloud infrastructure, and edge compute offer those endless possibilities.
Well, if you look at one of the main use cases for 5G, people have talked about private 5G networks. And if you look at the traditional way, telco way of delivering that may have been private APN or even a network slice in new technology parlance. But ultimately, that is just them delivering connectivity. Whereas we look at private 5G networks, that's them delivering services, operations, management, all of the wraparound for that to their customers. And I think that's when we start to see them become a TechCo.
So as service providers are looking to capitalize on the edge, and 5G in particular, they really need to look at all of the assets and tools that they have inside of them, right? So a lot of them have mobile, cable, some have satellite, and bringing all of those things together as an offering for some of these customers, I don't know, retailers, other industries that have remote locations, and being able to provide a level of service assurance and visibility into all of that connectivity will be of huge value to a lot of these large enterprises that are highly distributed.
Yeah, I think in terms of 5G and edge computing, what we're seeing is a lot of vertical applications around industrial manufacturing, transportation, retail. In fact, anything that requires sort of control systems that have fast response times or has a lot of data that has to be processed at the edge in a timely manner. And I think those are the ones that we're seeing good uptake on.
So just like CSPs are for their customers a trusted partner, VMware are a trusted partner for CSPs. We've been delivering virtualization and cloud native technologies to CSPs for decades, since the virtualization of core. And I think now with our AI capabilities, with our automations and with our toolset capabilities, VMware are ideally placed to help telcos in their transformation.